Many thanks for staying with us. And on the segment, we'll be discussing job creation and economic empowerment in Lagos State. With me is Feishayo Alayonde, Executive Secretary of the Lagos State Employment Trust Fund, and she'll be discussing Project 100,000 jobs, or 100K, which 100K was, okay, 100K jobs, and how the fund is shaping opportunities for entrepreneurs and youth. You're welcome.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, ma'am, for having me. Good morning, and good morning, Lagos.
Now, let's begin by, understanding what the central vision of the LSETF, is, and how it aligns now with Governor Babajide's some of those themes plus agenda.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. And it's always a good place to start to get people to understand why LSETF was created, what we do. So LSETF stands for Lagos State Employment Trust Fund. I always emphasize this because some people say education, some people say environment. I'm like, it is Employment Trust Fund. And our mandate is very simple, just to ensure that we create opportunities by which jobs can be formed. We have a parent ministry under the Ministry of Wealth Creation and Employment, so we all work in tandem together to hopefully make sure that every Lagosian work together. No, absolutely.
Okay.
To make sure that every Lagosian is supported, every Lagosian has a right to a job and a sustainable job at that. And you find that aligns with, Governor Sanwo-Olu's Think Plus agenda in terms of inclusivity and getting the last mile heard.
Yeah. Getting the last smile heard.
Yes.
Like that.
Okay, now let's narrow it down to our topic of discussion today, the 100K jobs.
Yes.
Let's understand the objectives behind this initiative.
And fantastic. So I know when people hear Project 100K, they're trying to understand why. Honestly, it's just literally quantifying our mandates. I think this year, 2025, how many jobs we want to create. And we've gone through the history of LSETF, what we've done so far, and realized that we need people to know exactly what we're about. And we have 3 interventions by which we're doing this. So it's basically saying, if you're an entrepreneur, we have an opportunity to get a job. And by supporting that entrepreneur, they in turn hire more people. So it's one vicious cycle, right? If you're a job seeker, you have an opportunity to get linked up with an employer based on your expertise, and then you get a job, you secure a job. But then we're also calling on partners to realize that Lagos State is owning that mandate, and you can come and work with us or come and partner with us to make sure that those opportunities for entrepreneurs and those opportunities for job seekers are available, and we're here to do that. So it's really us quantifying our mandates to make sure that this year, 2025, that's what we choose to do. And it's been a very encouraging one because there are people that have worked with LSETF before, or let me say, somebody that has taken a loan from LSETF 5 years ago, and they say, oh, I took a loan from you guys 5 years ago. I went from hiring 4 people to now hiring 20 people. And we're like, we need to tell your story. So this has actually now gotten people to realize that it's beyond LSETF and Lagos State government. It's now the residents of Lagos State. What are you doing in your capacity to actually amplify how you are applying for a job, how you're securing a job, and how you are even employing more people? So it's a mixed conversation around what we're doing in 2025 to stand on our mandate to create jobs in Lagos State.
Okay, are there particular sectors that the 100K jobs will be focusing on? I know you talked about, you didn't talk about it, I read about it.
You read about it, but it's good, it's good.
Tech,
at least the message is out there.
Industry,
yes, yes.
Are they just those sectors, or there are other sectors that the 100K
Yes,
jobs will be focusing on?
Yeah, there are other sectors, but they're core sectors that we're pushing this year. But honestly, we also say we're sector agnostic, because when you look at the job seeker side, we have employers that approach us daily to say we need somebody with this skill. So there's some regard where we say we're not necessarily focused on a particular sector. But you're right that when we are pushing the word out there, for 2025, we're looking at agriculture, trade. Without a doubt, the small SMEs are the ones that drive our economy. So trade is a very big one for us. The creative industry as well. Anything to do with upskilling, recycling, renewable as well is a very key one for us. Construction. They're very, very key sectors that our employers are coming to us to, look for jobs for. And then the entrepreneurship side, any entrepreneur that qualifies for a loan and is a resident of Lagos State, makeup absolutely, provided you can prove that you can pay back the loan, because remember, it's access to credit. That's what's key. And then obviously you can prove that it's an impact-driven economy that you're part of. By all means, we would actually be able to support you.
I already asked that question, that makeup.
Makeup,
when
yes.
you said small SMEs,
Yes,
you emphasized the small SMEs. I was going to ask, how small? That
Yes.
was why I said, okay, makeup.
Yes,
and they
makeup.
included.
They included if you're hiring one person or you're a sole trader, provided you need a loan that's within our drive this time from 50,000 naira to 500,000 naira. So we're keeping it to that limit so that we can actually get the resources going further. Typically, our mandate, we can give up to 5 million, so that's still there. But we're trying to push this drive to go to the smaller segment of society. So 50,000 naira to 500,000. So that makeup artist, if that's really what their need is, they're welcome to
For people that
apply.
haven't even started their business.
So that's
startups.
that's an interesting one. So we actually have the startup loan that we actually give, and that's about 50,000 to 250,000 naira. So we actually do have them coming every day. What we say that for a startup, you at least have to have proven that you have a skill. So you have a certificate that shows that I'm skilled in makeup. I've learned this makeup.
Okay.
Big risk.
No, but the whole idea is saying that I'm serious about it and I will use the money. And then there are other requirements that we also put in place. So certain things like, are you credit worthy? You're not owing Lagbaja, or you're not owing another commercial bank, right? So we do a credit assessment on you. Then we actually ask for your guarantor details as well. Somebody must be able to guarantee that you're who you say you are. So they're very simple requirements that we put out there so people know that it's open. Are you a resident of Lagos State? Everyone has to have a LASRA ID. You have your LASRA ID, exactly. We also then ask for a tax ID. Not that you're paying tax as a startup, but you have to be registered because it means that you are ready to do business and you are coming into the tax bracket. So there's certain requirements that we put out there, and all of that information is always available. So startups are definitely encouraged to apply. They just need to make sure that they take this requirement seriously and then they meet them. And then BVN as well, but everyone should have their BVN by now.
Still asking about the requirements, must the business be registered?
For a startup, no.
And for those who have started already?
Yeah, they would have to be, For the bigger ticket items, they would have to be. For a startup, no. But we do encourage, because at some point we find that you want to grow the business, you want to scale, so some level of registration, but we also support small businesses to actually register. So if anyone has an issue, we have a business support program that actually helps them with the registration process.
So you've taken this initiative now to 12 locations in Lagos.
Yes.
Why 12 locations?
So to be honest with you, we started that way, but right now all our liaison offices where in 28 locations in Lagos State are active. What we wanted to do was to cluster, to say if you came to this location from any of the supporting LCDAs, you can meet us there. But right now, it's actually all our 28 locations are open if anybody wants to, approach us there. Or you can find our liaison offices, and all of that is on our website, www.lsetf.ng.
Okay, you talked about we, which means, you're talking about the public sector.
Yes.
Now, what role does the private sector now play with 100K jobs?
Oh, we can't do without them. You have no idea. So I'll take it very interestingly on two angles. So on the entrepreneurship side, believe it or not, the credit assessment I spoke about, it's partnership with CRC. So we can't ascertain, for example, that Lagosian is who they say they are, without plugging into the system. So that's another example. Another example, very technical, is we ask the beneficiary for their card details so that we can collect, because remember it's a loan. So at the end of the 1 month cycle or 2 month cycle, we're able to collect the repayments. That's Paystack, and that's another partner that we're partnering with. So that's where they all come in, as an example. But on the employment side, they are very significant because everyone that's looking for a job cannot be employed by the public sector. Fact. So we need active partnerships with the private sector to absorb the people that we've trained, well-meaning Lagosians that we've trained, and we've tried to place in 3 month or 6 months internship. The private employers can also absorb them as well. So without a doubt, the private sector are very instrumental in making this a success. And a lot of the jobs that we do as a senior leadership of LSETF is actually making sure that relationship is positive, making sure that the stakeholder engagement keeps going every single day. So they're very key. They're very key.
Okay,
Yeah.
Let's talk about equitable access now to all. I'm looking at people with disabilities.
Yes.
Do you have a platform for them as well?
Yes.
Even women.
So, and women, obviously. So, what I would say is specifically starting with, people living with disabilities, we actually have an ongoing engagement with the Lagos State, Disability Agency. Oh no, I said we actually have.
Your voice is a bit low.
Oh, it's low. Oh, I was trying to match your voice. Trust me, I'm louder than this normally, but because your voices are low, so I was trying to match that as well. So I was saying that we actually have an ongoing engagement with Lagos State, Lagos State Disability Agency, and what it is that we take our application drives to their location in Alausa, and we actually make sure that all of the starting point and ending point is done on that day. But we communicate prior to say these are our requirements. We take the application to you and we complete it there and then. Because without the awareness up front of the advocacy, we're basically wasting their time. So it's important that we do that. And then with our parent ministry as well, Ministry of Wealth Creation, they do a lot to support that particular, through that agency, and people living with disabilities. So we actually engage more that can be done. So we're constantly looking for opportunities where we can do things better. We don't have a specific product just yet, but they're always welcome to apply. There's no limitation as to why they cannot apply, because the requirement applies to everybody. So that's first things first. And then the Women Initiative, we'd actually done something in the past, not recently, with one of the commercial banks, which is a W initiative loan type. And we're looking to work on that again, where we can, sorry?
Especially knowing that you're coming from
the private sector. Exactly,
sector.
yes, exactly. Yeah, so we can always work on that again. But it's basically making sure that we're listening to the voices of women and the beneficiaries in Lagos State, and then tailoring those solutions to what exactly their needs are. But I would digress a bit just to provide some context. So one of our programs, which speaks to the tech sector, I think you mentioned it briefly now, which is called Lagos Innovates, where we serve as a conduit, where we serve as a conduit between the startup tech community, founders, and then the funders as well. And we've done 2 successful cohorts over the last 2 years, where we did a call for application for any female in tech. And believe it or not, typically we might not get as many women applying, but once we said only female funders, founders, mentors, the applications kept coming, and it was so inspiring to see women doing things in edutech, fintech, health tech, agri-tech, the whole spectrum of technology, you know. So that's one way we've actually gone into specifically address women, to bring them out, let them realize that there's an opportunity here, and plugging that gap and mixing them, matching them with female funders and female investors likewise. So,
okay, talking about programs now, many programs in Nigeria have faced sustainability issues, and LSETF, I think, was created in 2016.
Yes, we're 10 years next year, by God's grace.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
How has LSETF been able to, hold up since then, concerning sustainability?
I think the question you're asking is one that was asked last week in a different way, and I think the credit really goes to the administration, because everyone has said, even I wasn't here, but when there was a transition from one governor to the other, it was seamless in terms of the objective of the agency was very clear and appreciated. There was no break, there was no break in transmission, everything carried on, and that's some level of sustainability. The reason I mentioned that, somebody asked me last week that, so what's going to happen, when you change power, is your agency going to hit the reset button? I'm like, that's my knowledge, because we are actually intervening on a critical matter around unemployment that affects everybody in the state, irrespective of who is at the top in terms of the governor. So as long as that agenda is still very paramount, it would be sustainable for the agency to carry on, by God's grace. But on the mantra around sustainability as a whole, we work with our beneficiaries plugged into the Office of Climate Change and Clean Energy, and just create the awareness around what else they could be doing in their own little businesses to make sure that sustainability is key for them. How do you recycle? How do you upcycle? So all of our beneficiaries, we give them that awareness of what they could be doing in Lagos State within their own space around sustainability.
Okay, still talking about collaboration and of course sustainability. You signed an MOU with the U.S. African Development Foundation, and to train 10,000 young Lagos residents in employability skills. Now that US is, taking back, all its funds, how do you, in future, want to do this, because we're still talking about sustainability.
Remember I said to you, stakeholder engagement, we're constantly looking for new partners.
Okay.
So we're constantly having a door open to see we've had this gap.
Okay.
Because the partner may have pulled out or whatever, but we have opportunities for new partners to come in. So the USAID fund, I wouldn't want to talk about it.
Okay, we'll talk about that.
The thing to mention is that the program is here to stay in terms of employability, and we welcome more partners and work with Lagos State to ensure that certain skill sets are available, people are employable, and they get jobs that they can stay in. So those opportunities are definitely still there, and it's open to local partners, multilateral
Local
agencies,
partners,
global partners. We launched with KT, I don't know if you're aware, King's Trust International. We launched with them February this year, and it's looking at skills across renewable energy, skills in the creative sector. It's more just skills. And we've actually just placed a whole cycle of people that we trained the last 2 months. We've just placed them in jobs, and that number keeps growing. So we have other opportunities that we use to plug that gap when the need arises. But the opportunities for partnerships are always there.
Okay, so still talking about the 100K jobs now, let's look at the artisans, that's the informal sector.
Yes.
How are you also certifying that they really have the skills, especially those who are not tech savvy?
Those who are not really literate.
I hear you. So it's a very valid question, because it's something that we always remind ourselves of, that we have different demography in Lagos states. We have low-income households, we have middle-income households, and the different levels of exposure. So first things first that I should start with is, I mentioned we have 28 locations across Lagos State. So for anyone that's not tech savvy, that's not a hindrance. You can walk into your nearest LCD or LGA and find an LSETF licensing office there, and they can walk you through the process. So really, the technology is not a hindrance in terms of having access to the funds. However, to your specific question around...
Feisha, we'll have to go on a short break, to sort out some technical issues.
No problem.
We'll be right back after this short break.
Thank you for staying tuned. It is still the conversation here on Lagos Television, and we've been discussing LSETF and Project 100K Jobs. And we still have with us here Feisha Alayonde, Executive Secretary, Lagos State Employment Trust Fund. And just before we went on that short break, I asked the plans that they have for artisans, traders, that's the informal sector, and those who are not tech savvy. I want to use that word. I don't want to use the illiterates.
Of course.
And then she was explaining the platforms that are available for them. So please go ahead.
Thank you very much. So I was saying that the being tech savvy or not being tech savvy should not be an hindrance. We are actually located in 28 locations across Lagos State. So we said to anyone that is not able to apply for any of our programs online to visit the closest LGA to realize if there's an LSETF office there. Our list of offices are on our website as well, but if they can't do that, they should just walk in and find out that information, and then there'll be somebody there to help them with the application process. So just starting an inquiry is always the first things first. But one thing I'll highlight though, just generally, is what we've done differently this year is we're partnering with associations. So for example, Lascota trade associations, whereby artisans that are clustered together under those associations, we approach them directly and we make sure our requirements are known upfront and there's visibility of what we do. So they in turn take our programs into their communities. We also have community drive. So we're engaging them in their place of business and completing the process end to end. So it's just constant engagement, but it doesn't have to it doesn't have to start and stop with technology, right? We can actually still use physical engagements.
Just for emphasis sake, I want to ask again.
Mm-hmm.
Is the process seamless?
Yes.
There are no bottlenecks?
So the process is seamless, there are no bottlenecks, but I do have to highlight that because there's a lot of dependencies on potential verification models like NABs or third party that could be down, that's outside LSETF, there could be a break in transmission, but that's like any technology. I mean, if I call you now, I might not get a seamless conversation. Exactly, we're just talking about that, right? Yeah. So it's not going to be 100% because of the dependencies, but as long as anyone gets their requirements and they have it up front, we start the process end to end, and that is seamless within our control.
Okay, would like to know now, the program started in August.
Yes, absolutely.
And now, out of the 100K, 100K jobs targeted, how many have been created so far? And what sectors?
So far altogether this year, we're on about 30, yeah, and we're still counting. So we're pushing ourselves. We're not there yet. We're still counting. And I think the sectors have been varied from agriculture to trade, a lot of trade, some tech, and then some in the creative sector. We're seeing a lot of the creatives coming out in light as well now. Okay. So that is coming up again now. So we're not there yet, but we're slowly but surely picking that up. Yeah.
Let's talk about some of the challenges that you're going through, especially with getting this project, getting it across to people.
It's a good question because I always say challenges sound negative, but I think the starting point was just awareness, because would you believe it, I still got a call this weekend saying, why have you, I'm just hearing this for the first time, how come my LGA is not aware, or how come my community is not aware? So even with the awareness drive, we still have people that are not aware. So we implore everyone in Lagos State to please don't hoard this, spread the information as far as you can, because you don't know who will need it. So I think that's the first things first in terms of how else can we put this out there. So we're always appreciative of this kind of opportunity with LTV and other, partners like yourselves to see how do we get this information out there. So that's the first things first. And then the second challenge, which is not really a challenge, is we get feedback around, I don't have this requirement, and for that reason, I'm not going to come and apply. And we say, if you don't have a requirement, still reach out. So for example, LASRA, if you don't have a LASRA ID, we can work with LASRA to get you one. So don't let, because you don't meet the 100% requirements, not help you apply. Reach out to a liaison office to get them to help you to understand with the gap of what you don't have, what can we help you do. So those are the things I think we're still trying to get people to trust, to then create the awareness and then make sure that people actually buy it, because there are people out there that need these interventions and our programs.
Okay, this should have been a follow-up to the question I asked earlier. What is there a timeline, in achieving this 100K
by the end of 2025?
Oh, end of 20.
By the end of 2025.
End of 2025.
So end of this year, we're pushing for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I want to also talk about, when you say job is being created, so how does LSETF define a job created? Is it only direct employment or also indirect?
It's both direct and indirect. Okay. So remember I gave the story about, and I'm going to say it again because I was so proud, because she was a woman that started our program. She didn't even get to the final stage in terms of the incubation cycle, but she said that with the access to her mentors and the restructuring of her business, she was able to apply that to her current status. And she said at the start of the program, she had 4 employees. And now, I think it was 6 months after I spoke to her, she had 20 employees. So that's an indirect job creation. Because we've empowered one entrepreneur, she's been able to literally increase by 16 additional headcount. So to answer your question, it's direct and indirect. But the truth is we do have to start. So the job creation aspect is any opportunity that allows, so there's job enablement, any opportunity that allows a job to be formed and a job to materialize is really what that is. And the reason I want to stress this is we have partners that might approach us to say, we have this vacancy, but we don't know how to fill it. We have a database of people that have been trained. So we say to the partner, can we have your skill set that you're looking for?
Have been coming
exactly, because we did a call out for employers as well. Can we have your skill set? And we take that skill set and we either work with our parent ministry, Ministry of Wealth Creation, or ourselves to understand who are the many Lagosians that we have on our database that can we match to these jobs. So that's another way by which we actually do that. But ultimately is making sure that no one in Lagos, and I repeat that is plugged into these programs should be without access to a job, whether it's on the entrepreneurship side or as a job seeker or employee.
Let's talk about the loans now.
Yeah.
The interest rates. And then have you ever had issues where
Somebody absconded.
they absconded with refund? So how do you handle it?
It's a reality for any financial institution that's giving access to credit. It's a reality. It's the biggest risk ever. But honestly, we've done a lot better. I mean, when I started at LSETF, you know how it is, they give you a handover document, and I was looking at the historic things. I'm like, there were people that actually took the loans and they thought they were grants. So we've done a lot with our partners, our stakeholders. They thought they were grants. So we've done a lot with our partners and stakeholders to educate people on why these loans are loans. And we say to people that if you don't pay back, you're limiting somebody else in future from having access to those same funds. So we've done a good job of re-educating people, but we've not stopped there. We've also leveraged on technology to help us ensure we collect smarter. So something almost like saying like a deduction at source, whereby we have the beneficiary's bank details and we can collect directly from the bank with their permission, obviously, because when they apply, they have to give us that mandate that we can go ahead and collect. So technology has helped us do that. But I should stress that 9% is per annum. So it's actually 0.75 per month. So I always tell people that you won't find
feel it.
You won't I mean, you'll feel it, but the point is, if you're really someone that has a plan, you would understand what it means to be able to get access to credit at 0.75%. And if for any reason you're not able to pay that for 1 month, 2 months, let us know. It's communication. We've had people approach us to say, I'm not able to pay back, and we work with them to see how we can restructure that. But don't just abscond, because we have an obligation to report to the credit bureau, and you will not have access to funds tomorrow. So it's an education thing, letting people realize that it's not yourself. You have to communicate to get people to understand that. So I think that's how we've been able to leverage on that awareness, plugging the knowledge gap, and then leveraging on technology smarter to collect.
So what's next? Once the 100K job target is done, are we going for 1 million?
By God's grace. But honestly, with the right resources, why
because
not?
This is a flagship initiative.
Yes.
For the LSETF.
Yeah, we've done other ones in the past, but the other ones are coming up. So I think what's next is just for us to take feedback and lessons learned from whatever we've done this year, ramp up our numbers where we can, adjust our processes, because I'm sure that there's feedback that's going to come in. In fact, we're getting feedback every day, and just make sure that come 2026, we hit the ground running, and then we can communicate what those numbers will look like.
Okay.
So for the 30 that you have gotten, how are you doing follow-up on them?
Oh, we're doing that ever so often. I mean, the collections is automatic, obviously, but then if we see that someone hasn't paid, our call center will reach out to them to understand why they haven't paid. For those that on the job seekers employee side, once they get placed in a job, we have checkpoints where we actually find out what's going on, how are you doing in that role, making sure that we actually confirm that role that you've gotten, you're actually able to, sustain yourself in that role. So it's just active follow-ups to what we do. Yeah.
That's it. We must thank you again, Feisha.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Alayode.
Alayode.
Yes, fantastic. Well done. Don't let my husband's people come for you.
Please so. Executive Secretary, Lagos State Employment Trust Fund, and she has brought us up to speed on the LSETF and Project 100K jobs. This is just a clear sign of what this present administration is doing to tackle unemployment and make life sweet for Lagosians.
Absolutely.
Thank you again.
Thank you so much for having me. Really lovely too. And I love when women are doing the interviews.
It's
quite nice and fluid. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you, LCB.
The show continues after this. Stay with us.